What are you trying to tell me? I couldn't figure him out. And he just wasn't coming forthright with what he really wanted to tell me. He tried the best way he could, but it just never really came out. And so I was just like, oh, okay, he's just going through one of his emotional moments. I just put it as that, but then it got to the point where I couldn't see him anymore. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Why can't I see my dad?
What was he trying to tell you?
That he was dying and that he loved me very much. And he wasn't going to be able to see me graduate from high school, which is something he really wanted to see.
Why did it mean so much to him?
I don't know. The only guess that I have, since I was his only child, just to see that milestone happen. He didn't see me graduate from high school, nor did he see me graduate when I got my master's. He didn't see me. He didn't walk me down the aisle when I was married. He didn't see our children being born. But I guess it was just that first milestone that he really wanted to be a part of, and he knew that he wasn't going to. Well, there was a huge snowstorm on the East Coast, and they said it was a blizzard. It wasn't a blizzard. It was just a snowstorm. If you can drive and see in front of you, it's just a snowstorm. When it's a total whiteout, it's a blizzard, okay? Well, anyway, I had to drive my husband to dialysis, and it was 12 miles away. And finished driving him back, and we were listening to the news. And it was talking about a coastal town on the Atlantic called Scituate. And very quaint place. But what was happening was there were huge floods from the Atlantic that were coming in to the coast. And with it was sleet that was freezing the electric cords that were attached from house to house. And so when you have that seawater frozen on electrical cords, it will cause sparks. And so flames came up and was burning a number of houses down in Scituate. Meanwhile, it was still snowing. Meanwhile, there was huge floods coming up and just bumping up the houses and flooding up the whole area. And I remember just watching that on television. And when I got back home here to Indiana, a melody just kept on ringing through my head. I woke up about a week later, and I just said, okay, I've got to write this down. So I ended up going to a restaurant, and I just started writing and writing and writing, and I didn't stop. It took me about 2 hours to finish up the song, which is a record for me. Usually it takes 2 to 3 weeks for me to write a song. I have to leave and then come back and finish it. But this was nonstop, and I wrote it for lever harp. And I think I got Coastal C or something like that for now. But it was a very interesting storm. You had all these things going on. When I finished writing it and recorded it, I was like, wow, this is really haunting. And that's what I really remembered about those pictures of the storm. Didn't see any people who were affected by it. I just saw what the weather did and its power and its fury. and how it affected the town. So, because I noticed Maya was getting frustrated at this time, and I knew that she was really close to Dad. So it was really important that both of them had to be buffered and prepared.
Yeah, I remember when I was about 7, that's when he went blind, and it really had a big effect on me. Well, my life kind of changed because I'm usually depending on him, and when he went blind, I started depending on him more because I was like really getting into school when I was that age. And so Mom was always at work. He wasn't that often. So I would depend on him a lot, and then he would have to depend on me more, and I just wasn't used to that. And with my brother's autism, that didn't really help a lot. It's kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like a routine. When we go there, we like sit down by his bed, and then he asks us some questions, we answer back, and then we ask him some questions, and then he'll want us to leave the room for a little bit so he can sit down and talk with Mom, and then we leave. That's kind of how it is. Well, he's a chef and he loves to cook, and so gotta make sure he doesn't burn down the house, number one. And also I'd have to take care of my brother sometimes, because in his head he's like my age, and he does a bunch of stuff that a 15-year-old wouldn't really do. It's kind of frustrating because you really want to get left alone, but with nurses coming in and out, it gets a little frustrating because you want to get into some personal things, but you can't.
It's similar. My dad, around that age, he was aloof towards me, where Maya's dad is not. He's always asking about her and what she's thinking, what she's feeling, and wants to know what she's doing constantly. But she does have her moments where I can pick up something's wrong and she's internalizing it and she's not expressing it. And if she doesn't get it out soon, she's going to explode emotionally, and she'll either take it out on me or her brother or the dog. So that's not a good thing. And so I try to get her to talk out what she's thinking and feeling. Her vice is drawing. And she loves to draw manga as well as write. I would say after being shipwrecked and you're in a warm current ocean, whether it be the Pacific or the Caribbean, and you're doing a survival float constantly. And you try any way you can to keep your head above water. There are some days where that salt water will just pull you up, and it'll pull you up enough such that your shoulders are above the water. You can go and appreciate the warmth of the sunshine and the daylight. There's some days you're in that storm and you have just got to keep your face above the water. You got to keep your chin up so that your nose and your mouth are breathing air. Meanwhile, the water is trickling through your ears through the eustachian tube from the auditory canal. And your ears are sore. from all that water being in there. That's how I would describe it. I think what I need to wake up to is the fact that I'm always going to have challenges. Doesn't necessarily have to be with my husband, doesn't necessarily have to be with my family. I'm always going to have challenges in my life. And I have to be mature enough on how to handle them. I think that is the most important thing. One of the most important things that I have to learn. And I think it's one of the reasons why I'm here in Indiana. I am convinced that if I had stayed in Massachusetts, I don't think I'd still be alive.